Good evening and welcome to JJ Wins here in Holiday City. It is Sports Weekly, driven by Terry Hendricks Ford, and also, as we said, brought to you by JJ Wins, Fackler Monument Company, the Bryan Parks and Recreation Department, and the main stops of Northwest Ohio. A little mix tonight of everything. Montpelier boys basketball coach Nick Ramos will join us in a bit. Antwerp girls basketball coach Scott Mcmichael, and we lead off with soon-to-be outgoing wrestling head coach at Montpelier, Troy Roth. Still got the rest of this year.
Still got the rest of this year.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. And I want to just go ahead and dive right in. Let's pick up our conversation. We were just talking about this off air from where we left it last year when I was asking you about girls wrestling and it being a sport and a sanctioned sport. And not long after that, you were pretty prophetic with that.
Not long after, I said it's not going to be very long before the state actually sanctions girls wrestling, and it was probably just a couple weeks after that I was on last year with you that the state came out and said we are going to sanction girls wrestling as a sport, and the girls are going to wrestle alongside the boys at the Shot this year, second weekend in March.
That is so amazing to hear, and it's well overdue. Because you and I were just talking as well off air, it's the fastest growing sport in the nation for high school.
In the nation, yep. And over the last 4 years then, when they've been documenting girls, it's doubled each year. And so now there's, got to be 1,500 girls that are registered in the state of Ohio.
Numbers-wise for you, girls, let's start with girls since we're talking girls wrestling. What's Montpelier have out this year?
We have the same two girls we've had for the last 3 years.
Okay. Is it hard? Why do you feel like numbers aren't going up yet at Montpelier? Why do you think the interest is it still too new? Maybe.
I've been in the hallways and just recruiting the girls that I know are not playing basketball and said, "Why don't you come wrestle? Why don't you come wrestle? Some of you do track. It's going to help you." And I just think right now some of the girls are just afraid that I don't know if I'm going to be any good. I don't want to put myself out there, and I just think if we can get some more that take that plunge, then I think it will escalate and we'll get more. But right now it's new enough and the girls are just a little afraid. I don't think they've seen the girls that we have doing it enough.
Yeah, need more visual evidence, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So that's not just, it's kind of a microcosm because your boys' numbers are down this year too, right?
Boys' numbers are down for us too. And again, it's the same thing. We have plenty of kids that are not doing a winter sport and we keep talking to them. And we had several kids that were on the cusp. And it was like, we just need somebody in the group to pull the trigger and say, I'm going to do this, and others would follow. And they all just kind of said, no. But, I talked to them, and some of them were like, hey, we're going to do it next year. And I'm like, well, that didn't help me out this year.
So what's the season been like? When you have low numbers, I know it's not ideal. It's far from ideal. What's the season been like for you this year?
It's been phenomenal, actually. We've got so many new kids that have never wrestled, and now that we got them in the room, we see huge improvements, and they're all talking about what they're going to do next year. So now that we got them in the room, we can keep them, and they just want to continue to do this. But, when we wrestle anybody else in a duel and we're sending 5 or 6 weight classes out there out of the 14, we're just getting hammered. Because the other team it's a parade of arm-raising forfeits that they're getting. But it's been a fabulous group, and they're all going to be out. We only have one senior boy on the team, so, all these other kids that we have, they're like, man, we really like this. We're going to do it. And hopefully then that just sends a message to some of the younger kids that aren't doing anything. It's like, look, these kids have never wrestled, and they really like it. Why don't you just try it?
Do you have, what are your junior high numbers like? Are you going to have at least a few that are going to come out? And at least that's the thought and process that you're going to come out next year?
Yeah, we only had one junior high kid the last couple of years. We had 4 this year. 3 of them were 7th graders, and they're all talking about, I can't wait to wrestle next year.
That's awesome. What's the area look like this year as far as competition? Who are the real good schools? Is it the familiar faces, the familiar programs that are good?
Yes. The state of Ohio, when I was the president of the Coaches Association, we finally got the state of Ohio to sanction and run the dual meet tournament, which took place before the individual tournament at the end of the year. And once COVID hit, then the state said, we're not going to do this anymore. So the Coaches Association took it back over. 8 teams from each of the districts were allowed in this little competition to do that. And so the state duels tournament, which is going to take place this Saturday, Archbold is seeded number 1, Liberty Center is seeded number 5, and then Wauseon is seeded number 3 in Division 2. So we got 3 area schools that are going to be competing for a state title through the Coaches Association as having a really good dual meet team. And so those are your 3 strongest ones in the area, and Wauseon ended up beating Napoleon to qualify. Archbold and Liberty Center were both at different brackets, and Liberty Center knocked off Tenora, and they were another good team, and those are your best ones in the area.
So what does it look like outlook-wise for your wrestlers individually come tournament time, which is just around the corner as well?
Well, last year was the first time in coaching at Montpelier that we didn't actually have anybody qualified to the district tournament. Sadly, it could be a repeat performance.
Because you have a lot of first-timers, like you said, out. That plays into it. We do. We've got one senior who started wrestling when he was in high school. We've got one freshman who's been wrestling through biddies. But all the other sophomores, juniors, and freshmen that we have, this is year 1 or year 2 of them wrestling. And we're just not to the point where we need to be. But, man, they give an effort every time they show up, and I love them. Boy, doesn't that make any year, whether it's your first year or your, 37th year?
37th year of wrestling.
Anywhere in between, you'll take kids like that, though, right, where it's enjoyable because they're there and they're working hard and they're competing for you.
Every time.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about 37 years. What's this run been like, whether it's here or wherever you've been involved in wrestling?
It has been a phenomenal journey. I mean, there's only been one time that had a group of kids that the effort wasn't there, that I actually talked to the parents at the end of the year sports awards. I said, if your kids give the same attitude again and effort next year, I'm not coaching. Well, the parents were all on board. They said, hey, we understand and we'll talk to our kids. And the next year, everything got better. But otherwise, you get to the season, you always have the good kids and the bad kids, but it's a mixture. But with wrestling, because they're confined in that room for so long, that as long as they're getting along, it's so enjoyable to go to practice and watch these kids develop and learn.
Where do you see the future of the sport, boys or girls? Where do you see the future?
Girls wrestling is actually probably going to save the sport of wrestling because there's so many more girls out. And I think at the state tournament, there's just going to be so many more fans there that are there to watch the girls. And I think people are going to watch these girls and they're going to be like, we're so used to the guys, and they're going to watch these girls and they're going to be like, man, these girls are really good. And it's just going to be something added down at the state tournament that people, I think, are going to just start coming to watch some of these girls. And some of the girls along the state are just phenomenal. And the 2 that we have are pretty good. And we're already, they've been to the state tournament through the Coaches Association. And, I think they got an excellent shot to be down there and wrestle in front of 15,000 people. And it's just going to be really exciting.
That's J.C. Altaffer and
McKay Christenberry.
So they have a good chance of advancing.
They do. They have neither one of them has finished lower than 4th in any tournament that we've been in. And as long as they're in the top 4 at the girls' district meet, they're state qualifiers.
Bryan is a team that jumps out that I know they began the year with good numbers for girls wrestling, and I'm not sure where they're at there. Other schools, who else are you seeing, like, pretty solid numbers of girls that are out for wrestling?
Tenora's got a solid 7 to 10 girls that are out in the high school, and they've got a few junior high. Archbold's got a solid 7 in the high school and 7 in the junior high. And then the other ones in the area. Edgerton's got the Herman girl, Hayden's little sister, who's doing some nice things. Rossford's got a solid team.
That's great examples right there, that off the top of your head, that you just kind of rattled off, that they weren't there a year or 2 ago.
No, Napoleon's got some nice girls, and so you see them, and the girls are really getting along and good friends, and you see these girls that, because there's so many now separate girls tournaments that we take our girls to, instead of having to wrestle the guys, they get to go wrestle the girls. They have a little bit more success. And you see these girls, and some of them are just phenomenal. And, Others are like any other program. These news girls are trying, and, they go out there and compete. And it's so nice to go to these tournaments with the girls because, very rarely are you seeing the headgear thrown and the pouting and the stomping off. They're just extremely polite and courteous to coaches and to the officials. The officials really love officiating these girls' tournaments because everything runs smooth.
Yeah, I'll bet. That makes a lot of sense. I can see all of that. So 37 years. I'm going to put you on the spot on a few. I got a couple of questions that popped in my head. See if you can. Best Northwest Ohio wrestler in your years of coaching?
Clark Forward.
Okay. Outside of Northwest Ohio, like all your years going to state?
Luke Fickle, Tommy Rollins. They were upper weights that were just phenomenal.
Okay. Best Montpelier wrestler?
Luke Beam, the one that I coached.
You coached?
Yep. School record for wins, pins, takedowns. He was 6th in the state. Now I don't remember watching Kevin Thomas or Jim Giese. They were both 3rd in the state. One was before my time, one was just after my time. I don't remember those, but since I've been here, Luke Beam I knew when he was a freshman, he just had broad shoulders and a will to win.
What team stands out to you that had the best, filled every weight class and had the best collection of wrestlers? I don't know if you remember the year.
2010.
Okay. Delta? Was it a Delta team?
Oh, I thought you were just talking about Montpelier.
Okay, two-part question. So Montpelier, go with that one then.
2010, my oldest daughter, that was her class, and there was 12 kids, 12 seniors. And so when those kids came in, there was 11 of them when they started as freshmen, and they all stayed out. And by the time they were seniors, we had 12 kids out of the 14 weight classes, and the seniors filled 11 of those. And that was a team that we finished 2nd in the league and ended up with 7 kids that were district qualifiers. And we put 7 kids in the finals and sectionals that year. That was just a good team. And
what about outside Montpelier? Collection of talent in one year.
Some of the recent Wasion teams from top to bottom, some of the Delta teams. Delta won like 4 state titles in a 5-year period. They were just loaded from top to bottom. And Wasion the last few years have just gone through, and you just look at the talent they have. They just kept replenishing, and they have another team right now from top to bottom that is just phenomenal. They just put kid after kid. These kids, out of their 14 weight classes, they probably have 11 kids that are ranked in the top 15 at state in their weight class.
So this is, as we said, the 37th year. Did you just kind of realize this was the year? This is it. It's time. I mean, you always say whatever job you're in, you're going to know it's time for you to be done. Is that what something told you that it's time?
It is. Something told me that, I used to just love going to practice every day and doing this and doing that. And right now I just don't love going to practice every day.
Yeah. Track. Give us a little preview of what's to come if everybody comes out that's going to come out for track that you hope is coming out. What's it look like for Montpelier this year? Because, again, your last year of track.
If everything goes to plan and we get all the kids situated and what they're supposed to do, I'm hoping to go out and have a league title with the boys and the girls. The girls right now have some tremendous speed. And so we are looking to not only do well in league, but districts, regional, and get some relay teams down to state with the girls. The boys, we don't have the same kind of speed and depth that we've had, but I think we're going to have enough, and I think we're balanced a little bit better. That we missed out on the boys' league title last year by 1.5 points, and there was a bunch of factors of kids that were hurt and things that happened, and we just missed out, and I think that'll be motivation for the boys to get back.
What are you going to miss most wrestling as a coach?
The weekends with the kids. You go to these tournaments, but I I'll still be one of Montpelier's biggest fans and still rooting for these kids and going to watch these kids. And I'm going to go to the other side and do some officiating.
I was just going to say, is that something to tell me about that?
And then I hope to, find out, hey, what tournaments are Montpelier going? And then I'll start calling those ADs. Hey, you need an official for this wrestling tournament? And they're like, what for? Well, I'm going to come watch our kids. I might as well get paid a little bit for doing this. And I'll do the same thing for track, too.
And it's a way to stay involved, stay busy, stay involved in sports that have been good to you, right, through the years?
It is, and I still want to watch these Montpelier kids because, some of these kids, even through wrestling, I've seen them from biddies go through. And, junior high and high school because, those kids are in the room together. And at the track, the junior high kids are there at the high school kids when it comes to the track practices. And so it's like, well, I don't want to not see these kids anymore. And so, I'll either go watch or somebody will pay me to go watch. And that'll even be better.
Going to the dark side.
I know the Montpelier's athletic director is on board.
Anytime looking for officials, right?
Absolutely.
They love that.
Absolutely.
Hey, Troy, thanks for being with us. Thanks for 37 years of giving to Montpelier, all the school districts that you were involved with. Montpelier is the one I know now is the one that you call home. I mean, all your kids graduated from here. You live here.
Yep.
You're a grandpa now. You have a beautiful grandchild that's here. I thought maybe
he's in the house.
I thought he'd be like part of the show by now, but boy, he is behaving extremely well. That takes from mom's side, evidently.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all that you've done.
I just want to end on one thing.
Sure.
That, with the longevity and the variety of sports, this season is my 100th sports season of coaching.
Is that right? Wow.
I hit the Century Club.
To a Century head coach, Troy Roth. That's a great way to end on that. Thanks for being here tonight. As our first guest, we talk Antwerp hoops next with Scott Mcmichael. Stay with us.
The big game is coming. You'll need to get your supplies, snacks, and beer. Of course, Main Stop is the place to go. Stop in our beer cave for a huge selection of beer and other fun items, ice cold and waiting for you. Main Stop is also where you will want to fill up on Marathon gas and use rewards to get a nickel off per gallon. Just type your phone number in at the pump or ask our staff how it works. It's easy. When you think the big game, think Main Stop.
When it comes to choosing a memorial that represents the lasting memories of a person's life, the Fackler Monument Company in Montpelier, Ohio can create exactly what you are looking for, like an eagle soaring through the woods etched on a memorial, a bench that has mom and dad's names engraved into the granite to sit and reflect, a picture of the family farm etched on the stone, or maybe your style is a memorial that has a split headstone with a vase in between for flowers. The Fackler Monument Company of Montpelier, Ohio, serving families in the tri-state area since 1924.
The Bryan Parks and Recreation Department would like to wish the Bryan Golden Bears good luck in tonight's game. The Bryan Parks and Rec offers a wide variety of classes for you during the entire year and an array of sporting events all year long. Check out what the Bryan Parks and Recreations Department has going on at bryanparksandrec.com or like them on Facebook. The Bryan Parks and Rec hopes to see you in one of the many parks that Bryan has to offer and enjoy the facilities. Questions about the classes or rental of one of their facilities, call 633-6030.
I want to talk to you for the next 30 seconds about the place to go for your next vehicle. Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald. Whether it's a new vehicle for purchase, a lease vehicle, or perhaps a pre-owned vehicle, Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald is the place to turn. They also have this fantastic service department as well. Service after the sale. Terry Hendricks Ford, serving all of your vehicle needs in Northwest Ohio. Go to terryhendricksford.com.
Here's your updated B-Rock 100.9 forecast. A wind advisory begins at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning and continues until 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. Scattered rain showers likely tonight, otherwise overcast. Lows around 37, east winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Scattered rain showers again tomorrow. High of 57, cloudy. Tomorrow night, lows around 34. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Currently, it's 39 degrees.
Welcome back out here to JJ Wins. Quick reminder, this is our last show in February because next week, girls sectional basketball on a Wednesday night. And 2 weeks from tonight, we'll have boys sectional basketball before returning in March. And we'll have shows in March, a couple in April, and we're done with our run. Bob, you're going to have Wednesday. You're going to have to take your beautiful wife out a lot now more than just the wins on Wednesday night. Not that there's anything wrong with the wins, but you're going to have to really be like a Casanova now? No pressure. Wednesday nights, you're going to have to continue date night, but he's going to have to really up his game. That's exactly right. He's going to have to really up his game. Scott Mcmichael, head coach of the Antwerp Lady Archers with us. Scott, thanks for being here. We were supposed to be together a couple weeks ago, and snow intervened, and we pushed you back, and thanks for being accommodating and coming. Appreciate being here.
No problem.
Let's talk Antwerp girls hoops this year. So regular season's over for you tomorrow night. How would you categorize how the season has gone for you?
Well, we got a big league game tomorrow night to finish with Tenora, but it's been kind of a roller coaster, to be honest. We've played some really good ball games, and then we've had some head scratchers here and there. So, it's just a typical season as far as kids working really hard. And I got 6 girls that play a lot varsity, and they're just tremendous girls, mature. It's been a lot of fun coaching them this year. So it's been a pleasure that way. Just every once in a while the ball don't go in the basket and we struggle a little bit. So
is it the kind of season? I mean, you're 12-9, so it's a successful season. You're above 500, and as you said, you've won games, been competitive. Is this kind of where you thought you'd be? I guess overall, if you step back and look at record-wise, is this maybe a game or two different here or there?
Well, you always, as a coach, sit down at the beginning of the season and say, hey, I think we can get to this number. And I kind of thought we could get to 6 to 8, actually, and maybe I was a little conservative, but we've won some games that maybe I didn't think we could at the beginning of the season. So we've kind of gelled here towards the end. We've won 6 of our last 8, and so things are playing better basketball towards the end, which is encouraging.
So when this team has played well this year, Scott, what have you done well? What's this group do pretty well?
Well, we got, I got a young girl, a sophomore, that does a good job getting off the dribble, and Caroline Roars does a good job attacking the basket, and then my daughter can shoot it some, and so we've got kind of a 2-headed monster there, and I got a senior that scores, I think she's averaging 10.5 for us, Haley Jewell, who kind of can do both. She can go off the dribble and shoot the ball. And then I got a girl that really our best defender, Emma Townley, does a lot of the dirty work and maybe doesn't show up as much in the stat sheet, but does a lot of things for us. And 2 post girls that rotate. We got a short bench. Lydia Krause starts for us, and a girl named Katrina Fish comes in and subs in for her a lot. So we don't have a lot of depth. I jokingly told somebody the other day, I'm sure that these girls is probably as good a shape as they're ever going to be in, because they've played, several girls have played 32 minutes in a game. So they're in tremendously good shape, and just a good group of girls and fun to coach.
Have you, Scott, had a problem spot that's kind of popped up and been, I guess, your kryptonite on nights where you've lost games? Has it been like a recurring theme type?
Well, I think all girls deal with, the woes of shooting here and there, and some nights maybe not making shots, but we've had a little bit of a problem rebounding the basketball at times, and turnovers can kind of get to us. But I thought we've grown in that capacity from the beginning. We were looking at 15, 18, 20 turnovers a game. We're cutting it back to 10 and 12, which has been good. Girls are real, mindful of taking care of the basketball. So I think when those numbers cut down, the results were better. So
you talked about not playing a ton of kids at the varsity level. How are your overall numbers in the program?
Overall, we have 15. We just got a younger group, JV girls, and I think overall, if you look around Northwest Ohio, girls basketballs, numbers-wise, has declined, and I just can't put a finger on exactly why. I know at our school, I think a lot of it is girls basketball is tough for girls, and there's nowhere to hide when you're out there. If you don't have the skill, you're going to be exposed, and that's one of girls' big fears, is to be embarrassed. So I think a lot of it is girls just don't want to be out there and be exposed. So I think that's something to the numbers in all programs. Now you're going to have some schools that traditionally have lots of numbers, but numbers-wise at our school, we're happy with, and
junior high included.
Junior high, we have good numbers. A little concerned with our mini archers, are a little lower than I expected, but right now we're sustaining with 15. I think the last couple of years we've had between 15 and 20. So I'm happy with the numbers. This year the makeup of our group, we just have a thinner varsity group.
And I've had conversations with coaches that either here on the show or just in general that have said that class that they're worried about. It's just a low number of whatever, girls or boys. Some instances there's like, all right, we have 6 girls that are in this class, period, and they're not all going to play basketball or whatever the sport might be.
Right. And, like I have many archers going on right now in the 6th grade. I only have 4 girls signed up, so I'm concerned about having a 7th grade team next year. Hopefully, another girl will join or 2. But, I'm encouraged that our junior high teams were competitive this year, and hopefully as they progress and move up to the high school and we put them together, I think there'll be some quality ball teams when they get older.
GMC is already determined. Fairview won that outright, wrapping it up on Monday, and actually Antwerp played a big role in that, in knocking Ayersville off late in the year. I think that's one of those wins that you look at, and maybe people looked at it from the outside and said, that's probably not an Antwerp win. That's probably an Ayersville win. That's one of those instances where you said your kids came to play on that night.
Yeah, absolutely. And, things just gelled for us that evening. And no disrespect to Ayersville, they're really, really good. But we played really well, and the ball went in the basket and defended well and got a few favorable bounces towards us. So, I was really pleased that evening.
How was the conference as a whole this year?
Conference was, very competitive, and got a lot of good players. I was just looking over we're having our draw or our conference selections this weekend. It's going to be difficult just to pick who's first team, second team, honorable mention, because there's so many good players in the league, and you feel bad when kids get left off that are quality ball players. But a lot of good players in the league. Every year I always say this at the beginning of the year. We got good coaches. We got a lot of people that really get their teams ready to play and do a good job with that. And so it was very competitive. And, I said this at the beginning. I still think that the league was pretty overall balanced, and you had to come and play each night. Now, I know a few teams had an injury here or there, and that always changes how their dynamic of their team and how they finished in the league. But very competitive over the year.
So here's you have an interesting dynamic and a way to ask this question. So is it easier or harder? You coach your daughter. You had to sit in the stands and watch your son in that run and go to state, which is a great dream as a father. So is it more nerve-wracking from the parent side, or how was that dynamic? How's that been for you?
Oh, that's
Coach
interesting.
and dad.
You alluded to the run last year. My boy was a senior last year, and that was a special situation, sitting in the bleachers, because I worked with them when they were little, and it was fun getting them going. And then they had some great junior high coaches, and then the high school coaches did a great job with that group. And so it was kind of get to sit there and the reward of watching them play, and there was no pressure.
Yeah.
I guess coaching your daughter, it's neat. It's a great experience, but there's also times where it's very challenging, and I'm sure she probably can vow that sometimes she probably doesn't want to play for her dad. But, you're always trying to compensate, whether you're doing it being too rough on her, too light on her.
Yeah.
But she's thick-skinned, I think. She takes it pretty well.
Well, and there's that moniker, you hear coach's kid, and there's certain things where a coach's kid, no matter what the sport, they know how to handle it because they've seen you deal with it as a coach, or whoever the coach might be, whatever the sport might be in that situation.
Yeah, and that she's been in there so long with me. It's kind of ironic. I told somebody a couple years ago, because I finally went through all my kids being managers. They were managers since they were like kindergarten. So I had a string of my kids being managers for years and years, and then they were all going into middle school and to high school. I had to retrain a few people, and I was like, oh my goodness, that was
I wouldn't have thought of that,
because you just took for granted they did everything. And so when you had to get some new managers, so I allude to that because they've been in the gym so much. Your kids are just around it, and I think that gets them a little bit of a head start.
Yeah, no question. So we've all had, the girls and boys, we both had draws, and we inserted the Martin RPI this year. Where were you before the draw as far as your feelings, and how did it turn out afterwards? You think it was pretty much on par? Were there any surprises? I guess your thoughts on that.
With the Martin RPI?
Yeah.
I thought it was fairly close. You can always go back and forth on a couple of like you went head to head and you might have beat somebody, but they were seated above you, which in an actual when the coaches get together and do their little vote, I don't know. A lot of times it might take a little more weight head to head, but I was where we were seated. I thought was in the ballpark of where we should have been, and then my only gripe with it is I don't understand the strength of schedule. Like if you go out and play a Parkway that's won 18 games or Adelphia St. Jefferson that's won 19 games and you happen to lose, that doesn't help you at all. And so I'm not sure if strength, might as well go play somebody that you're going to win and get some points. It seems to me with RPI. So I'm not sure with that. That's just my only question with it. So I think
understand. You should be rewarded for scheduling that game. Personal opinion, I think there should be some benefit for you going to play a 19-win Jefferson team.
And I'm not sure, and I'd like you to show me what the benefit is, because right now it's kind of a gray area. You look at it, and I know our boys coach had alluded to they beat somebody and went down in points, so I'm not sure how that all goes. But I know they're testing it right now. It's interesting to watch. Some people are very much for it. Other guys, I'm kind of on the fence myself. Okay. I don't really understand the whole strength of schedule bit to make a firm decision.
Okay. So your draw, Eden, get them for a third time this year. How are they different through each? I mean, you've already played them twice. Where have they gotten better each time, and what are some concerns for you?
Well, first off, their coaching staff, Coach Walker, does a great job, and they've really, comparing them from the first game we played to the second time we played, they grew a lot. And they're younger girls, much more assertive. The Wolford girls averaging 14 and a half, and so
every coach would take her, by the way.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Just how hard she plays and is relentless. Any coach would take
That's
her.
What I told our girls after that game was, man, she just outworked us, and super impressed with her. But I think they're getting better, and it's just I understand why they went at us, and we're going to have to be playing our best to beat them. But they're going to be well prepared, and we're going to go in and see what we can do.
When you take into effect of where you want to go, does where you're going to play have any role for you, or it's all about matchup, right?
Yeah, it's this year we were just looking to see where we could maybe settle in and get a early game, and then see if we could maybe get out of the sectional. Matchups definitely. We've never really chosen to go to Paulding or Bryan or what have you, but I was a little surprised at our draw and the way it went, as teams really passing on buys. I mean, there were three teams could have taken buys. They all passed and jumped in a bracket to play right away, which I find that interesting. And everybody has a reason. Some guys want to play because they don't want to sit and get rusty, and lots of different reasons. I just found it interesting that the first three seeds all jumped into the bracket and didn't take a bye. So that might have been a first in my many years of coaching.
Well, you still have some unfinished business, as you said. Tomorrow night you finish the and it's a home game with Tenora, and a first-year head coach there in Andrew Thiel. So you've got enough tape on him, though, now to see what they've done throughout the year. But a chance to honor, how many seniors do you have?
I got 3 seniors.
3 seniors. If you want to make mention of them, too, for tomorrow night. I'm sure it's senior night, right?
Yeah, tomorrow night, final home game for Haley Jewell, Katrina Fish, and Lydia Krause. Looking forward for those girls to I'm really hopeful that Haley fell in the Hilltop game the other night and banged her head and didn't get to play about 3/4 of the game because of fear of concussion. Luckily, I don't believe it's a concussion, but hopefully she gets the go. She practiced a little bit tonight, so excited for those 3 seniors. Great girls, meant a lot to the program. You talk about girls that are coachable and do whatever you ask, roles-wise, the 2 big girls that we have, Katrina and Lydia, as far as post girls, shared minutes, gave us a lot of effort in rebounding in the post, and then Haley has been a 4-year player for me and done a lot for the program, and her game has just expanded and gotten better as the years went on. So really pleased to have been able to work with those girls and look forward to tomorrow night for them.
Well, we look forward to seeing you against Eden in that tournament game next week. Thanks I know it's a drive on a Wednesday night. Appreciate you coming up and doing this with us here tonight.
Always enjoy it and appreciate you offering.
Scott Mcmichael, head coach of the Antwerp Lady Archers, our guest here tonight in segment 2. We'll talk Montpelier boys basketball next with Nick Ramos here on B-Rock.
The Brian Parks and Recreation Department would like to wish the Bryan Golden Bears good luck in tonight's game. The Bryan Parks and Rec offers a wide variety of classes for you during the entire year and an array of sporting events all year long. Check out what the Bryan Parks and Recreation Department has going on at bryanparksandrec.com or like them on Facebook. The Bryan Parks and Rec hopes to see you in one of the many parks that Bryan has to offer and enjoy the facilities. Questions about the classes or rental of one of their facilities, call 633-6030.
I want to talk to you for the next 30 seconds about the place to go for your next vehicle. Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald. Whether it's a new vehicle for purchase, a lease vehicle, or perhaps a pre-owned vehicle, Terry Hendricks Ford on Stryker Street in Archibald is the place to turn. They also have this fantastic service department as well. Service after the sale. Terry Hendricks Ford, serving all of your vehicle needs in Northwest Ohio. Go to terryhendricksford.com.
The big game is coming. You'll need to get your supplies, snacks, and beer. Of course, Main Stop is the place to go. Stop in our beer cave for a huge selection of beer and other fun items, ice cold and waiting for you. Main Stop is also where you will want to fill up on Marathon gas and use rewards to get a nickel off per gallon. Just type your phone number in at the pump or ask our staff how it works. It's easy. When you think the big game, think Main Stops.
When it comes to choosing a memorial that represents the lasting memories of a person's life, the Fackler Monument Company in Montpelier, Ohio can create exactly what you are looking for, like an eagle soaring through the woods etched on a memorial, a bench that has mom and dad's names engraved into the granite to sit and reflect, a picture of the family farm etched on the stone, or maybe your style is a memorial that has a split headstone with a vase in between for flowers. The Fackler Monument Company of Montpelier, Ohio, serving families in the tri-state area since 1924.
Welcome back here to Sports Weekly, powered by Terry Hendricks Ford, and here at JJ Wins in Holiday City. Glad to be joined by Montpelier boys basketball coach Nick Ramos. Hi, Nick.
Hey, Andy, how are you?
Good to have you.
Good, glad to be here.
Season number 2, and let's talk about this season. Obviously, improvement from year one. This is an obvious observation and question, but so I guess I'll make the observation and ask the question with it. What was it like going into this offseason and year number 2 for you and the kids now together and having that 1 year under their belt?
Well, this offseason it was really a lot easier this offseason because we had a plan in place. Whereas, we started a little bit late last offseason, whereas this offseason we hit the ground running. We knew we knew we had a plan. We knew when our league nights were going to be. We knew we were going to open gyms on these nights. We knew our summer league or our summer camps were going to be on this weekend. So this off season was a lot better than our last off season.
And everybody knew expectations, and I assume maybe not roles yet, but those would certainly start to get defined as the year went on. But at least knew what you guys wanted as a staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And the boys kind of know their roles as players already. So if they can just enhance that and we can focus on that a little bit more as coaches, then that just helps us in the off season too.
So 7-12 right now. How would you describe the season overall?
Positively. We're doing great things. I mean, defensively is really where our best basketball is being played right now. Offensively, we force some things. We do some things that are kind of undisciplined, but we are athletic enough where we make up for that on the athletic end, rebounding. We do a good job at that, and as long as we can keep that kind of stuff up, I think we'll be okay. So
a couple of the games that we've had had games where you've had some turnover issues, where you look down and you're like, Montpelier was like 4 of 6 from the field, but you had 8 turnovers in that quarter,
right?
And that makes it tough. So, what do you attribute? I guess just going too fast, trying to do too much.
Yeah, I think a lot of times basketball, when they run that press, they'll want to put you into chaos mode. Well, we tend to answer chaos with chaos, and we're trying to get better at that, and we have gotten better at that in these last few games. But that's really kind of where it's at is, we can't answer chaos with what they're trying to give us. We have to be more controlled, more disciplined, and look to reverse the ball, look to get an angle, that kind of stuff. But we've been doing a lot better job of that.
I'm picking, they had a 4-game winning streak. You've won 7 overall. So in those games in particular, and then even some of your losses, you've had moments of this. But where have you played your best basketball? What are you doing X's and O's wise when you feel like you've got things humming?
When everybody touches the ball. That's really when we're getting that ball reversed and we're swinging around and we're finding spots for Grant Gurrell down the post. We're finding spots for Jameson Grimm in the post and Garrett Walls he can get his shot anytime he wants. And when we're swinging that ball around and everybody's touching it and everybody's looking good and everybody's moving, that's when we're at our best. And that's usually in the beginning of the game. We slow down a little bit, but that's when we're at our best and we're moving the ball and everybody's playing together.
Numbers-wise, do you like them? Where are they at as you move forward? Tell me about Montpelier overall basketball program numbers.
Our high school numbers are well. We're losing three great seniors, and we have 5 juniors coming up and a good sophomore class coming up behind them. We have 4 freshmen right now. And they'll contribute to the program.
A couple of them you see contribute here and there now.
Yes. With Griffin Cooley, Hayden level. Sharps, they come in and do good things for us. And both them boys, when they've come into the varsity games, they haven't let us down either time. Well, not either time. They've been in more than often than that. Yeah. But any time, So, and below that, even with the junior high class with John Watterson and Dave Sharps and Seth Miller down there with those guys, they do a great job of just getting those boys developed for when they come up there. Now, our numbers aren't that great down there, but we do have some good kids, and we can get 3-4 players from each grade. We'll be doing okay when we get to high school.
Yeah, that's the key. Can you find those and keep them out and then develop and develop and develop? So the BBC this year, it's going to be decided tomorrow night, Stryker and Pettisville, but basically until last week you were in the discussion, and it's been a few years since that's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we were really in the discussion until we laid that egg against Stryker a few weeks ago. We would have been right there battling, this season but everybody has a bad game, and it just so happened that our bad game was at the worst time for us. But yeah, it's been a while that we've been in a situation where this late in the season we were fighting for that kind of position in the league, and the boys are really excited about it, and they're really looking forward to what we can do in the future if we can keep it going.
I want to ask you about the how things are determining seeding. You've had your draw. Before we get to the draw itself, what were your thoughts on the RPI this year for the year one officially doing it?
I kind of liked it. It didn't, it kind of takes the human element out of it, and we, you win games, you do well. You don't, you don't. Me personally, I like it because it's all laid out for you right there. You don't have to worry about, well, is this going to happen? It's all right there, and I knew already what we were kind of going to do, and I liked it.
I've had a couple of coaches that were on the show that said they wanted to take it that next step and go back to what we did in COVID year and host. If you are the higher seed, you've earned that right, and they'd like to see you get the home, be the home site at that sectional level and do away with neutral sites.
Yeah, you know what? Once we get to that point where we're the homes, when we get there, then I would probably like that, but right now I don't think it's good.
Okay. So you play to start the tournament. You will be taking on a familiar opponent for a third time in Fayette. Tell us about that matchup with Fayette in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that matchup for us is obviously a tough one because they beat us twice already this season. Both those matches were at the beginning of this season.
And they were, within a week? You played them back to work in the schedule.
It was a Thursday and then a Thursday, which it is what it is, but it's kind of uncomfortable, that kind of thing.
It's poor AD is what it is.
Oh, yeah. As you wink at Mr. Brigle over there. But no, they're a great team. And when it came down to picking my line, it was play some teams that we haven't known or play some teams that we do know. And so we kind of went with the team that we did know, And I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but we're going to go for it.
And if you get past them, the number 1 seed sitting there, and that's Scott Mcmichael alluded to it. PH ends up with the 1. Antwerp gets the 2. Antwerp won the head-to-head matchup with them earlier this season. So, and that's, I know one of the things he was referring, but Patrick Henry, Last year and this year, as good a bounce-back season as anybody's had in our area. They're playing really good basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're number one in our district, you're doing good things.
This district is pretty tough, this Division IV district.
Yes,
this year.
it is.
Before all of that, though, you're done going on the road until you have to play that tournament game, right? You go North Central and Ayersville at home this weekend, and then finish off with Fairview on the 17th. So 3 more home opportunities for you.
Talk about some good ADing at that point.
There you go, a home stand to end it.
Yeah, we finished our last 7 games. Only 2 of them were away. So I love finishing our season like that. Now we have North Central this weekend, Ayersville this weekend, and Fairview the following Friday. And those are all 3 tough games for us.
And this is where you want to start building momentum, get wins and build momentum, right?
Yes, absolutely, right? And if we can play well in these next 3 games, I'd love to see where we go in the tournament then.
Just thinking, is there anything else I wanted to ask you about? Your seniors. You mentioned them. That's what I wanted to ask you about. You're going to have your senior night here very, very soon. What has this group meant to you here since you were with them through the program as a JV? You go back to them probably junior high?
Yeah. Andy Robinson and Andy was their freshman coach, and I was a JV coach, but, we was pretty much together on the south side of the gym there, just us and them, and this group of seniors, Jameson Grimm, Trent Thorpe, and Garrett Walls, just a great group of guys. Jameson Grimm, he's the guy that leads most of our weight room sessions in the morning. He gets the guys up early, gets them going. Even like on off days, he'll be the one. Oh, hey, we're gonna practice. I'll send out practice for 4:30. He'll say, well, at 3:30 I'll be in the weight room. So to lose people like that in a part of a program, it really hurts. But hopefully, we can have some guys step up. To lose Trent and Garrett, that really hurts the program, when you have leaders like those guys. But we're looking forward to what the next class can bring.
Good luck in the last 3. Good luck in the tournament matchup with Fayette. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
Nick Ramos, head coach at Montpelier. Thanks to him, Troy Roth, and Scott Mcmichael as well. Remember, no show the next 2 weeks because we have girls sectional and boys sectional basketball for the next show. Won't be till March the 1st. Sports Weekly brought to you by Terry Henricks Ford, JJ Wins, Fackler Monument Company, the Bryan Parks and Rec Department, and the main stops of Northwest Ohio. Stryker and Pettisville Friday night for the BBC Championship, and then North Central at Edgerton on Saturday night, our next 2 games. More rock on the way now here on B-Rock.